So, did you guys know that all good acting jobs go to men? Yeah, me neither. Now, obviously, that's not really true. But you wouldn't know it from the trash I read this week. For starters, there's this article. Carrie Coon, who I don't think I've ever heard of before, thinks women should say no to unsatisfying roles. Okay, so I looked her up and on IMDb, and she was in Gone Girl and Fargo, the TV series. So basically, a bunch of stuff I've never seen and don't care about. So maybe she is onto something with this whole unsatisfying roles thing. It's been easy for me to say no to parts that don't meet the whole women as human criteria thing because so few roles even get close. I read a lot of very disappointing scripts. I don't work as much as I'd like to. Oh. But in saying no to those deeply unsatisfying parts, we start to reach the material that is interesting to us, and saying no to the idea that women shouldn't make waves or ruffle feathers lest we be deemed hysterical or bitchy. We're honoring the women we know, the deeply complicated ice cream and wine loving women who may not have realized their own power until far too late. So the best way for women to have power is to not have a job? I mean, don't get me wrong, I think she's sort of making a good point. If you don't think a job is right for you, then you don't have to take it. Furthermore, if you want to have a better chance of getting the job you want, you have to be willing to hold out and negotiate. However, there are only so many jobs out there. And while I don't live or work in Hollywood, so I may be mistaken, I'm pretty sure competition for acting jobs is fierce. There are way too many aspiring actors compared to the number of acting jobs. So if you just keep turning down roles over and over, you may never actually find work. I mean, sure, it worked out fine for Carrie Coon, but that doesn't mean it'll work out for everyone. So if you really care about the number of women in Hollywood and the power they have, it seems like you'd want as many women in as many roles as possible in order to raise the economic power of women, because they'll have relatively high-paying jobs and money. If, however, you don't think in collectivist terms, then holding out and waiting for a more satisfying role makes much more sense, because you're not doing it for women as a whole, you're doing it for yourself. I mean, think about it. If all the women in Hollywood followed this advice, then you'll have most women turning down most roles, and then as a result, those movies or shows or whatever just won't get finished. However, any work that doesn't have any roles for women, or anything where those roles can just be filled in by men, will be carried out just fine. And of course, if you really care about satisfying roles for women, why don't you write your own? If your goal is to advance women's roles in Hollywood by getting them more satisfying roles, you're not going to achieve that by having a few famous women turn down roles, only to have them go to actors with less fame who would be willing to take those roles anyway. However, no one's stopping you, or anyone else for that matter, from working really hard and writing their own satisfying roles for women, whatever that actually means. Since I don't think all women are the same, I think what's satisfying to one woman might not be to another, but what do I know? I'm just some dude. But anyway, speaking of women without jobs, Catt Sadler left E! Network, which I think is officially called E! News, but until they start reporting the news, I'm not going to call them that. Anyway, Sadler learned that her co-host, Jason Kennedy, was making twice as much as her, apparently. So she quit. In a statement to People magazine, she said this. Up until this point, I mean, it really has been a dream job, literally a dream job. I'm from Indiana, born and raised, and I had my sights set on E, and I've seen the world. I've had the best experiences. I've got incredibly close with all my coworkers. It's like a family here, and it's been beautiful for the majority of my run. I pinch myself every day, the job I get to do. I have so much fun. It has almost been surreal. But then this year happened. Okay, so if it was your dream job, then why did you quit? I mean, if it's your dream job and someone else is getting paid more than you, who cares as long as you're getting paid enough to feel fairly compensated? Oh, that's right, the wage gap. You think that you aren't getting paid as much because of sexism. Well, then carry on. That was really hard to swallow, but you know, information is supposed to be power, and when my team began negotiation, knowing what we knew, that was the barometer in which I expected to be paid, based on the law and based on what I know to be fair and what I believe in my heart of hearts is reasonable. Okay, great. So you felt you were not getting paid enough, then you tried to negotiate for a higher pay, they refused, so you quit. This is exactly how it should work. I mean, there is some truth to what these people are saying. If you don't like a job and can afford to not take it, then don't. And similarly, if you don't think a job pays enough, then negotiate for higher pay, but be willing to walk out the door if it doesn't go your way. But of course, all this requires the luxury of not needing a job. And of course, the main problem I have with all this is that it ignores the fact that maybe the guy was getting paid more for a reason. The article claims, of course, that they have basically the same job. But since we're talking about TV, what really counts here are the ratings. In a statement released by E, they said this: E compensates employees fairly and appropriately based on their role, regardless of gender. We appreciate Catt Sadler's many contributions to E! News and wish her all the best following her decision to leave the network. Okay, but I don't have numbers to look at these two hosts, so I don't really know how to compare the two, but the article has another quote I'm going to read, and I think that should shed some light on the matter. It's almost insulting because you know you work really hard. I'm a single mom of 2 kids. I've given my all to this network. I've sacrificed time away from my family, and I've dedicated my entire career to this network. And when you learn something like this, it makes you feel very small and underappreciated and undervalued. It's heartbreaking. A single mom of 2 kids. Maybe, just maybe, you get paid less because you have a family you spend time with. I know that you said you sacrificed time away from your family and dedicated your entire career, but maybe that's the problem. Your entire career consists of a large chunk of time where you had kids that took you away from your job. Meanwhile, as far as I can tell, Jason Kennedy doesn't have kids. So maybe, just maybe, he put his career ahead of everything else all the time, and you've only done that some of the time, and the other time you chose your kids. And then the article ends with this: I might go off the grid at least for a week or so. I'm going to try and make that happen, she said. And then I'm going to go back to work. You best believe. I guess you really proved me wrong. Going off the grid, that's some real dedication. I mean, that's the only logical thing for a celebrity and TV personality to do. I mean, it's not like taking a break could harm your career by making you fall behind on your work or anything. I also decided to Google the two co-hosts just to see what would happen. And surprise, surprise, several of the top pictures for Catt Sadler are her with her co-host Jason Kennedy. However, when I Google Jason Kennedy, I have to scroll down a bit before finding a single picture of him with Catt Sadler. So maybe the guy is more famous. But now, in case you think this video is just me shitting on women, let's hear from an equally out-of-touch man in Hollywood. I mean, just because the men in Hollywood are paid more doesn't mean they're any smarter. Christian Bale has an idea. Don't put white dudes in charge of everything. And here's a quote. Our culture will be much richer the day we stop saying, hey, it's all white dudes who are running things. Whether that be Hollywood, whether it be Washington, we're going to get in Hollywood so much better films and so much more interesting stories being told when that happens. And America will become the America that the rest of the world sees it as. That makes it unique. Wow. Revolutionary idea there, Christian Bale. Because, I thought that when someone started a business, they own it. I also thought that we picked politicians with elections. I don't remember ever saying, hey, it's all white dudes who are running things. So maybe if you start a business, you should own it, and therefore you have the power to run and control it. And if this applies to everyone, then anyone could start a business, and if they innovate or tap into an untapped market, they could potentially grow their company quite large. And then for our politicians, we can let everyone, regardless of gender and race, vote on our leaders. And those leaders can be of any gender or race. So then once everyone who chooses to vote casts their ballot, we add them all up and see who won. And then that person, regardless of race and gender, is the winner and gets to have the job until the next election. Oh, wait, I forgot. That's already how it happens. And Christian Bale doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. But have no fear, because in the United States of Christian Bale, you can still run stuff, just not everything. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say everything is equal for everyone, but come on, are you really that out of touch, Christian Bale? Or are you just pandering? Because there's no way that you're that stupid. Just no way. It's impossible for you to be the stupidest Batman when Ben Affleck's in the mix. But if you really don't see what's wrong with what you've said, then maybe you are the stupidest of the Batmen. Because I'm pretty sure even a child could tell you that at least some of the top companies and at least some of our politicians are not white. So basically what you've said here, Christian Bale, is that you don't know what you're talking about, you don't have any original ideas, but you really want people to like you. But maybe if you think white people have too much power, how about you start by looking inward? Next time you get offered a role, why don't you turn it down and instead try giving it to a non-white person or a woman? I don't think the director will go for that, but who knows? You can also try giving away your money. If you don't have any money, you don't have any purchasing power. So you could give away all that acting money if you really care about non-white dudes having power. But hey, I don't want to shit on Christian Bale too much. I'm sure he worked really hard to get to where he is today. I mean, it can't be easy blowing Harvey Weinstein. But that's it for today. Let me know what you think of this video by rating it and leaving a comment. You can also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. You can follow me on social media. The links are in the description. Thanks for watching, and remember to never stop questioning.